Welcome everybody to week 4 of the CTD season. We are here at Sonoma Raceway and we have just headed into qualifying. So as we take the Carter lap around the track, let's talk a little bit about where we are. We are at Sonoma Raceway. We are at the Sports Car Alt and we are really excited to get race 1 underway here. So as usual, we're going to follow Carter Price around the track as he takes his first qualifying lap and learn the track. This is quite a hilly track, a lot of undulation, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of elevation, and incredibly fun to drive. So as you can see, his first lap here is going to go all the way up to the left, get on the left-hand side to take this hill over the hill, still have to stay over to the left, get on that curb, and then he's going to set up to the right here to go to yet another left turn hill, which is then going to turn over to the right, over the hill. As you can see, he keeps his tires on the curb and then slows down. This is steeper than it looks, and it's downhill, down the hill. You can see he's going to get a little bit of a breather here, but the next turn is going to be a downhill left. You can see you don't really see the braking point, you just have to know the track, and he's going to stay in third gear as he navigates his car around the track, and we're going to get to the only straight-ish of this layout. As you can see, we're going to sort of head down the side street here for the alternate layout, and he's going to be setting up for a right turn, and look how wide he goes here. This is a super wide corner. Believe it or not, that is not off track. That is the racing line for qualifying, and Carter nails it. As you can see, sort of heading through these S's here. This is turn 10 through 14 of this track. And he's going to go through turn 15 now, and then finally into this longer right-hand turn. He's going to keep it in fourth, slide out to the left. He's going to look like he goes into the pits, but he's going to just use that space, go right next to the barrier, into first gear, accelerate out, track out, and that will be the first lap for Carter Price and Sonoma. And let's take a look to see how things are going. Carter Price putting in a 147.9, and that's going to leave him a little bit behind Greg Calabria. But yeah, now that we are all set up, we know the track now. Let's go ahead and lock on to Greg Calabria as we talk a little bit about the weather. So the weather today is beautiful. Track conditions are very nice. 81 degrees, a little bit hot, but not too bad. Pretty ideal. Clear clouds, no rain, like medium humidity. But overall, this should be a pretty exciting race. I'm also expecting this to be a little bit of a spread out race. This is a track that is hilly, it is difficult, it is flowy. Not everybody is good at this kind of track, and not everybody was able to put in the kind of practice that you need for this kind of track. So we're going to take a look to see how Greg Calabria is doing. It does look like Greg is matching his pole lap here, but lost a little bit of time coming through. And let's see if he's able to improve. It doesn't look like it. Looks like that's going to be about a 148.2. Going to sort of hop around here under Matt Coley, the scientist, in his lovely Baja Blast livery. I'm going to keep an eye on qualifying as we go here right now. It's Greg Calabria up at the top. Greg had like a 300 I rating bump this week. Did a couple of races, did really well. Expect him to see him in the Purple Gang soon once he's able to do a little bit more racing. You know, nobody does this full time. Everybody's got a job, and some people have kids, and it's rough to get online sometimes, and sometimes it's a matter of time. As that is going to be Nick Drux. Actually, no, that's going to be Carter Price getting his pole position back. Very nicely done by him, and he's going to poke Greg by 0.02 of a second. This is getting close as they get into their final laps. Have a look here. It's Kerry Nolan. And then Kevin Cohen. Kevin not in his Dale Earnhardt livery that we saw him in all of the GT4 races, so maybe we need to get him one. Kevin is, however, on a heater. He is looking a couple tenths up as he goes through the S's, and we'll see here when he gets to turn 16 what this looks like. Let's see, he's going to track out wide, going to come in for the hairpin. Our only real first gear corner on the track. It's going to come around, track out to the sides, looking up. Will it be enough? Greg Calabria is also on a really fast lap. And Kevin just is going to come to a stop. Did he get the time? No, it doesn't look like it, unfortunately. Greg Calabria, was he able to pip Carter Price? No, doesn't look like it. And I believe that we still have 2 minutes qualifying. Is anybody else out on track? See Joe Beretta in the Murica car. Got Kerry Nolan. Got Nick Drux in the Marlboro just chilling. You'll see Steve Hill. Here's Tyler Dunham. But yeah, right now, Carter Price, the 147.8 is holding strong over the 147.89. It's 147.87 versus 147.89 for Greg Calabria. So yeah, while we are waiting on this, let's talk a little bit about the race. We've got 2 20-minute races today. They will both have their own different qualifying sessions. The settings should be about the same, but we do have a pro and an AM class. This is a less popular track. We don't have the biggest turnout for today, but we do have a lot of regulars here, and that's really, really good to see. The pro class, maybe talk a little bit about CTD. So CTD is a driver academy, as you know. We try to take drivers and coach them to reach the 2000K or 2000 I rating. And that is the goal of the academy. So the AM drivers are the ones that are still learning. They haven't reached 2K yet. And then any purple driver that is a pro driver has graduated and came through the program and are still racing with us because it's a really cool community. So we've got a pretty even mix today of AMs and pros. I think maybe a little bit more AMs, which looks good. And we're going to hopefully see some really good racing today. And we've got 24 minutes left of qualifying. It doesn't look like anybody else is out on the track, really. So we're just going to go ahead then and take a look at our starting grid. Carter Price, yet another pole. And he's going to be starting next to Greg Calabria. Next behind him, the 2 AMs, or the 2 pros actually, Kevin Cohen and Kerry Nolan Jr. Joe Beretta and Nick Drux, these 2 are good friends, and the typical combo, they're going to be 4th and 5th and 6th. Chris Gardner and Steve Hill will line up behind them in 7th and 8th. And finally, Tyler Dunham and Jim Campbell will go ahead and take their places behind them in 9th and 10th. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get on the grid and get started with this race. Are we on the grid? Getting there? Yeah, have a look at the pace car here. Look at Sonoma. Nestled in sort of a more rural part of California. It is a pretty popular raceway. NASCAR has been coming here for a while. I don't remember. I think IndyCar's been here. At least one of the Indy Next, I believe, has been here. And it's a really cool track. It's one of these like Nürburgring style, just here's the terrain, build the track through it, and see what happens. And I happen to really like this layout. This hasn't been the most popular track in PCC. We do follow the Production Cup Challenge schedule. And I think a lot of it is because we are on a less known track on an alternate layout, which isn't always the most popular. So in iRacing, you do have to buy all the tracks that you race. You have to buy the cars that you race, except for the Miata. The Miata is free, but it can be a hard sell to pony up $15 for a track you haven't heard of on the layout. That's not it. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get on our pace lap here. Our cars, led by Carter Price, are going to be heading around the bend here. And yeah, there should be some really good racing. Once again, I'm pretty excited to see what this looks like. How close everybody is to each other in terms of pace, and whether we're going to have any good battles. And yeah, hopefully we get some good racing here. Sorry for the quiet. It's just me today up here in the booth trying to figure out how to fill this time. We will take a look at Carter Price's tires, which they were blue, now they're purple because he graduated recently. So, recent graduates. Jeremy Toasty graduated pretty recently. The most recent grad here is Carter Price, and that was one of those. That is a long time coming. And then Nick Drix also graduated this season or within the last couple months. Jeremy graduated. Kevin Cohen and Kerry Nolan are drivers that I want to say graduated in the very first season of CTD alongside myself. I was a student turned coach turned broadcaster, and I was able to graduate alongside with those guys. And I'm happy to see that this community has evolved over the last. We're in our 7th season, so each season is a season of iRacing. So it's been really, really nice to watch people come in and come through and do whatever they want to do with iRacing, and it's a wonderful community. So if you find yourself under 2K, you want to learn, you like driving the Mazda and might be interested, make sure you hit us up in some way. You can go to chasingthedelta.com, and we do have an application on the website if you would like to apply and tell us a little bit about why you're interested, and good chances we'd love to have you. Alrighty, all that out of the way, we are about to come through onto turn 1 of our race 1. Pace car is off. Carter Price will control the pace here. And let's take a look. And he goes. Great start by Carter Price as we have the green flag. Carter's going to take a huge lead over Greg Calabria, who did not get a great start. He's going to be right behind by Kevin. He's going to be surrounded by Kevin Nolan, Joe Beretta, and Kevin Cohen. We're going to go almost three wide over through the first corner. Who's going to survive? Kevin Cohen going very fast around the outside. He is going to take the position. Followed by him, Joe Beretta, and Greg Calabria is going to slide in behind. Whoa. That was a very, very intense start, and now they're going to sort of get into a line, and yeah, people become little demons in the Miata, and we hopefully will see some good moves, but that was an excellent start. And now Kevin Cohen made a great move around the outside in order to take that position. Oh, so there we go. Sorry. I just noticed the volume wasn't on, but that's okay. All you were going to hear is the sounds of engines, but now we're good. All right. Carter Price already has a second gap over Kevin Cohen, who is essentially leading the pack. Joe Beretta behind him, Greg Calabria, who did fall back from second to fourth after that crazy start. Behind him, Kerry Nolan, Nick Drux, Steve Gardner, Chris Gardner and Steve Hill, Tyler Dunham and Jim Campbell, and it looks like Tyler and Jim are going to have a nice little battle here. Yeah, and that's going to be, that was Jim Campbell going wide and just barely saving it, but he's going to drop back a couple positions. Oh, that was close. So we're going to take a look at sort of what's going on in the back of the field here, as this seems to be the closest, although we do have a battle for P2 that I'm going to keep my eye on here. But we're going to be looking at Tyler Dunham and Keith Gwinnett. Keith, another one of the coaches. He's going to be seeing if he can get a position up on Tyler Dunham. Has to look up the outside, nothing there. Tyler in the White Monster livery is going to continue to drive defensively. While this happens, we do have we're just going to keep an eye on the battle for P2 here, which is a little bit more, say, influential for the standings. And Kevin Cohen is a quick driver. It is going to, but, so is Joe Beretta. So it's going to be it's going to be pretty hard for Kevin to keep Joe behind him. As Carter Price just heads off into the distance as the guys behind him fight. You can see that super wide line that you're allowed to take through there, and everybody takes it. We were talking in practice about whether you want to take the more inside line there, and it turns out our guys like going out, so that's what we're doing. And sort of settling into pack mode here. And we're gonna throw it back to our overall positions as we look for some battles to get underway here. But right now we are just driving in a line. Very, very processional. We will go back then to Tyler Dunham and Keith Gwinnett, because Keith is going to go for the pass on the outside of the very final turn, and it looks like he'll make it stick. But he does go wide out of entry. That's going to give Tyler Dunham, and he's going to hit the wall. Keith making contact with the wall there. It doesn't look like his Miata is that badly damaged, but that will slow him down, give the place back to Tyler Dunham, and that's going to allow Dylan Bauman to go ahead and slide right in front of him. Oh, man. Keith probably just forgot that he had that much speed with the draft coming into the last corner, and when he came in inside, just wasn't ready for the amount of speed he was taking in. Unlucky, but even luckier, it does look like his car is undamaged. He is going to be giving Dylan Bauman a hard time. He's going to look up the inside. That's going to send Dylan wide. He's going to keep it on the track, but Dylan hanging in tight here. He's going to try to keep that position. Keith on the inside now, but now Dylan's going to be on the inside for the next corner. Keith putting his nose out to the outside. Dylan Bauman is going to stay side by side with Keith as we head into this long, long straight and this really long corner. Who is going to keep this position? It looks like right now it might be Dylan, but Keith is going to keep his position on the inside. He's going to go very, very narrow in. And, oh my God, they are still side by side. Dylan Bauman still has his nose in front of Keith Gwinnett. And behind him is Jim Campbell, and Jim is going to take whatever these guys give him, as Dylan is going to maintain position going in to the last couple corners here, but Keith is not ready to give it up. You can see him looking from side to side, trying to get a sense of where he can overtake. Going to push him down into the last corner. This time Keith looking on the outside. He's going to go ahead, maybe try a switch back here. And is going to look for it. They're going to touch. Oh, and that's going to be contact between Dylan and Keith. Oh, man, that was such a close battle. It's hard to tell what happened there. I guess we might look at it after the race, but that was fun while it lasted. And speaking of while it lasted, we've got Nick Drux overtaking Kerry Nolan for 6th position. And we can see right now the battle for P2 is coming up ahead here. Kevin Cohen, Joe Beretta. Behind Joe Beretta, Greg Calabria sticking his nose in, trying to find something. Nothing doing, but we can see that there's going to be a couple different lines going into the straight. And is Kevin Cohen going to be able to take the speed through this really, really difficult corner? And Greg Calabria is going to look on the inside, but he's going to hit the curb. And that is going to throw a huge wrench in his plans to try to pass there. And he's going to slide right behind Joe Beretta. You can see we do have this positional battle going on. So you can say we're watching P2 through 6 here. If we look at the overall positions, that's Kevin, Joe, Greg, Kerry, Nick, and Nick. These guys are the hardest fighting right now. And who isn't fighting anybody is Carter Price. We saw his really excellent lap in qualifying, and you know he's just an excellent driver, and every time he races with CTD is just more proof of that. So all right, we're gonna see both Joe Beretta and Greg Calabria getting up on the curb here, and Greg again looking around the outside, nothing there. America stays ahead. But, again, they're heading around. Oh, man, these guys are looking for every single angle to get in front of each other. This is a great battle. See, as they're coming down through turn 7. Greg Calabria, again, looking up the inside of turn 7 with nothing happening as they head down the turn 8 here, which is this little bit of a crook. We're going to have all 5 cars pretty much bumper to bumper, and that is going to be Nick Drux and Kerry Nolan. Kerry did get side by side. Is he going to try something into this move? Kerry has to back out. Kerry had to back out at the last second there, otherwise there would have been a collision between the two of them. So again, this battle between Joe Beretta and Greg Calabria is starting to give Kevin Cohen a little bit of breathing room. He's still 7/10 ahead, so Joe is still in the draft, but if they keep fighting, they're going to lose that draft contact, and Kevin's going to have a much easier time. Joe Beretta, he's going to defend on the inside here. Greg getting right up to his bumper, and we see Kerry Nolan going right around Nick Drux, and he's going to complete the pass there. Very, very nicely done by Kerry, and Kerry now has some work to do to catch back up to the guys in front. He's obviously going to take Nick with him. Nick, pro driver, he's a very strong driver. Like a very, just solid, sturdy, fundamentally good driver is Nick Drux, and he's not going to let that go without some challenging. Meanwhile, the battle between Joe Beretta and Greg Calabria is still heating up, and once again, Greg looking for a way around Joe Beretta and doesn't find it. But now Joe is actually getting closer to Kevin Cohen. Kevin's been struggling a little bit, and, you know, Kevin is a super quick driver, but he can be mistake prone. We have seen him throw away wins. We've seen him throw away second places just by making mistakes, and hopefully that will not be the case today as we reach the halfway point of this race. We have 10 minutes to go as Kevin Cohen leads the pack through this part of the track. Carter Price way up in the distance. He is 3 seconds ahead. He is dominating. So we will not see Carter unless his cat jumps in the way and he can't race anymore. So once again, we're going to follow this group side by side here, and coming through the latter portion of the track. These S's are pretty fun. And through this almost oval-like part of the track, and we've seen moves into this final turn 18. Will there be any here? Joe Beretta hoping, thinking about it, but nothing going, as they are going to continue going. So we should say that Kevin Cohen, he is driving without a draft, and he is staying ahead. Like, even though there are battles going on behind him, he is quicker than these guys. It's not like he's just, these guys aren't finding a way to get through him, although Joe Beretta might be looking for ways now. You can see him. He's going to take a look up the inside. Joe Beretta, not there, but that's going to bring Greg Calabria right up to him, and that's going to bring Kerry Nolan right next to Greg. You can see Kerry Nolan going into the inside of this turn. Is he going to be able to make the stick? I think he might. Yeah, he's going to be on the inside for this, and he is going to complete the crash on Greg Calabria, and that's going to bring Nick Drux right up to Greg. Oh, Greg's had a tough lap positionally. He sort of got checked up by Joe Beretta, but now, oh my God, look at Greg Calabria just taking that position back as if nothing happened. But Kerry is not going to let him go easily as these two head down the straight into our long bend of turn 9 and 10. They are going to go side by side. So far, the inside has had the advantage through this very long turn. Will that be the same? Kerry Nolan has a lot of speed coming through there, and they're still side by side. This battle is not over. Nick Drux is just waiting for whatever comes his way. Greg Calabria looks like he might get ahead, but he doesn't. It's going to be Kerry again, but then it's Greg. Greg is just holding on to this, and you can see the tax that it's having on these three drivers because the two drivers ahead of them, Kevin Cohen and Joe Beretta, have just driven away from all of the defensive driving by the three of these guys. Wow, that was super, super intense. They're going to head around turn 18. Kerry Nolan looking on the inside, nothing there. But we'll see who gets the better exit. You know, in Miata, you know, Miata's the racing is so close that, you know, the traffic can giveth and traffic can taketh. And, you know, if you have to check up to avoid somebody or somebody does something you don't expect or you weren't paying attention and that has an effect on what you do, as we see Joe Beretta going for the pass on Kevin Nolan, and he's going to get it. That really could just spiral into you losing a couple places, but Greg Calabria did a really good job to stem the bleeding there and was able to regain fourth position after almost going down to sixth, after stopping to avoid Joe Beretta. But Joe with an excellent pass here all the way through turn 7 and the 5 of these guys are back. You know, they did lose the draft for a little bit, but then the battle between Joe Beretta and Kevin Cohen started up again, and that slowed them down enough where the three of these guys working behind them, which is Greg Calabria, Kerry Nolan, and Nick Drux, they're just right up behind him. And Kevin Cohen, aggressive driver, will he make a move here? Right now, he's just sticking to the back of Joe Beretta. We'll see if there's a move into the final corner. Here we go, as we see Carter Price is a zip code ahead at this point. And oh, there is some contact, some bump drafting there between Joe Beretta and Kevin Cohen, but that's going to hurt Kevin, I think, more than it's going to hurt Joe Beretta, as that's going to bring Greg Calabria right up to him. I think Kevin either missed a braking point or something, but he really had to slow the car down, probably to avoid really punting Joe. And that is going to bring Kevin Cohen into a tricky position where he has Greg, Kerry, and Nick just breathing down his neck. But if there's anybody who can do this, it is Kevin Cohen. Kevin does want to get back up to Joe, but Joe has already pulled about a second lead over him. And if he is fighting, this might be Joe Beretta taking P2. We do have about 5 minutes to go. But again, you never really know, and especially on a track like this, it's a difficult track. We might have contact, we might have spinouts. Anything could happen here. As we do have Chris Gardner with the meatball, which means, yeah, something must have happened to him. And I believe Jeremy Toasty, he was way down on his time. But that's a shame for Chris, running a good race up into this point. And we're going to go back to this battle, which is now for P3. But, you know, Kevin wants that draft from Joe Beretta. It's going to keep him in this race. It's Greg Calabria is now getting passed by Kerry Nolan. And that's going to, once again, put him under pressure from Nick Drux. And Nick is going to have, I believe, the inside coming into these next couple turns. Is Greg going to be able to get enough speed around the outside in order to try to defend this position? Oh, this is going to be close. They're going side by side, but Nick has the inside, and it looks like Greg's going to slot him behind him. And man, these Miatas, they just it's so hard to pull away that if you lose one position, it's very, very easy to lose two. And I've actually been watching a lot of Top Split Porsche Cup that they've been running at a track like Monza, where it's just like this. There's like 5 or 6, like 10K drivers all racing each other, and it's like I've seen, the one of the top drivers in the world go from like first to fourth because something like that happened, and there's a complicated mixture of the draft and defending, and Greg's got nothing to be ashamed of there. That thing does happen, and he's going to try to look for Nick Drux, and he's going to sort of send Nick outside. Nick saving the car. And I think Greg felt like he caused that because he went ahead and let Nick go, but that's going to seriously separate them from the rest of the pack. I don't know if Greg had to give the position back, but that was, I think, good sportsmanship by him. He also didn't want Nick to come across the track and hit him, so that was also probably defensive as well. But either way, that will separate them most likely for the rest of the race from this pack. We have about 3 laps to go. Let's take a look at our overall positions. Carter Price, 7 seconds ahead. The Max Verstappen of the Miata, and he is just going to pull away. Joe Beretta and Kevin Cohen, Kerry Nolan now are in a battle for P3. Or P2, I'm sorry. And then now for the battle for P5, it's going to be Nick Drux and Greg Calabria. And then behind them, it's a bit spread out. We've got Steve Hill, Tyler Dunham. Tyler, I believe, having a moment. It looks like he was 7th going into the last one, but is no longer. Jeremy Tosti, Jim Campbell, Keith Winup, Dylan Bauman, who seems to be right back up with Keith. Him and Keith have been battling this whole race. Matthew Coley, and then we've got Chris Gardner and Jacob Green, who are, I think Green ended up starting late, unfortunately for him. Maybe he had like a tech problem. All right, we are on our second to final lap here, and what will happen? We have our battle here for P2 and our battle for P5. Here's our battle for P5. It is Nick Drux and Greg Calabria. And Greg is going to want this back. See, Nick Drux, very nicely done. Just sliding that back end of the car around in order to keep that position. And we're going to see whether Greg's going to be able to find the draft and find the speed to make a move, because time is running out. Going to sort of look around the outside here, but he just doesn't have the speed. He's going to be right up on Nick's bumper. They're going to go around the very long turn 9 and turn 10 combo through turn 11. And the S's, which are just brilliant fun in the Miata. And we're going to see, we've seen moves into 18 all day. Will there be another one? It's going to depend. And Greg's going to try to go for it, maybe. He's sort of pushing him along. I wonder if Greg wants to sit behind him for this next lap and maybe try to get a run on him. We will see. And we have the white flag. Carter Price has crossed the finish line. And the white flag has been dropped. Steve Hill has fallen behind. Oh, Steve. Oh, man. Something happened. I don't know if he spun out on his own, but that looks rough for his car. That's likely his race. Anyways, we are on the final lap, and our main battle here is the battle for P2 and the battle for P5, and that's going to be Greg Calabria and Nick Drux, and Greg's going to send it right up over the hill onto the curb. He's going to take the position from Nick Drux, but Nick is going to have a couple more chances here to get that back. Greg Calabria, very nicely done. I think it'll make him feel better if he can get back at least up into 5th after where he started. He was, a couple hundredths behind Carter for pole, and then had a rough start, and is now fighting for his life to keep this 5th position. So we see Carter Price, and we will grab him as he crosses the finish line. So we can see Greg and Nick going around turn 9, now turn 10. Zoop. through turn 11, and they're going to go through the S's. And we're also going to take a look here at the battle for P2, and I will not be surprised to see maybe even a double move here into the final corner. This is going to be Kevin Cohen. You can see them just on the limit. Kevin and Kerry are going to be looking for moves. Will there be any? It doesn't look like it. Joe Beretta taking the inside, and it looks like we are going to end with Carter Price is going to cross the finish line in first place. Very nicely done. Behind him, it's going to be Joe Beretta, Kevin Cohen, and then Greg Calabria was able to hold off Nick Drux for P5, and whew, what a race. That was good. You're going to see Tyler Dunham come in 7th place. Jim Campbell, Jeremy Tosti. And let's take a look at this final battle between Keith and Dylan. And these guys have just been going at it for a while, but it looks like Keith will get the best of Dylan this time around and take that position. And that's going to be P10 for Keith Buenup and Dylan finishing in P11. On the track, Steve Hill. We got to look at his cockpit. Oh no, Steve trying to drive this car, you can't see where he's going. Well, you tried to. Oh man, well with that, let's go ahead and take a look at our results. Carter Price, 6 seconds ahead of Joe Beretta, just a masterful race by him. Had a great start and never looked back. After some heavy fighting, Joe Beretta takes P2 and is the winner of our AM section, followed by Kevin Cohen. Kerry Nolan, Greg Calabria finishing ahead of Nick Drux after their long battle. Tyler Dunham, Jim Campbell, Jeremy Tosti, Keith Gwinnett, Dylan Bauman, Steve Hill, Matt Coley, Chris Gardner, and Jacob Green. Well, what a race. Hopefully that entices you to stick around for race 2, which will start maybe 20 minutes or so. So come on back and hang out with us, and we will be back. Welcome back to Chasing the Delta Week 4, Race 2. And qualifying has just about ended, and I realized something. You really don't have a great way of showing you guys qualifying. So instead of, sitting here and killing time and saying nothing, I figured we'd just come right to the end of it and see what happens. And look what we have here. No surprise from anybody who's been watching this season, but that is Joe Beretta just clipping Carter Price and Greg Calabria and Nick Drux for that pole position. And I believe Kerry's going to get in his way too. Kerry and Greg are going to be tied for third and fourth place on the grid. And this is going to be a hectic start to this race. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Holy moly. So, wow. So we've got 5 drivers within a tenth of each other. Behind them, Kevin Cohen, who can absolutely stay with them and might have a good start and be right in the mix. But those are some dank times. I am not going to lie. So we are going to go ahead and just sort of see what we find here for race 2. So let's go ahead and take a look at our official qualifying. Our starting grid, Joe Beretta, by 0.03 of a second, is going to clip Carter Price for that pole position. Carter starts second. Behind them, by 0.03 of a second, is both Greg Calabria and Kerry Nolan putting in identical lap times, but Greg did it first, so he gets the place. Behind them, just a couple of hundredths back, is Nick Drux starting 5th. Next to him, Kevin Cohen starting 6th. Jacob Green, able to make it for qualifying this time, starts 7th alongside Tyler Dunham in P8. And then Steve Hill, hopefully he keeps his hood on him this time, is going to start P9 next to Dylan Bauman, who's going to start P10. Wow, what a start to this race 2, having these drivers this close to each other. So Joe Beretta did a 147.73. Carter Price, 147.764. Greg Calabria and Kerry Nolan did a 147.767. I mean, how close can you get on a track like this? Holy moly. This is going to be a very interesting lap 1, and let's hope it stays an interesting lap 1. I'm really, really hoping for that. If we take a look at the beautiful Sonoma Raceway. Yeah, I wish we had a better way of showing you qualifying. It's just hard, I am the cameraman and the broadcaster and don't have the team of people that like an F1 or, a real raceway would have in terms of showing you qualifying. So, I could follow random cars around, or I could just come in at the end. And I think that if we had some sort of way of tracking who was running quickly, which is super advanced. I don't know if anybody's able to do that on iRacing. We would have seen an epic qualifying. Carter Price, Greg Calabria, Kerry Nolan within 0.03 of a second within each other. And we are, I believe the pace car is about to start. We're just waiting on a couple more guys to grid. I see one. I think we got maybe one more. Oh no, maybe it's me. I forgot to click ready to race. Well, you're going to have to wait. Not doing it here. And we are going to go on this pace lap. Yeah, hopefully now you're starting to get a hang of the liveries. Got Joe Beretta in the America livery, as usual, Carter Price, and the CTD livery with the purple tires. We've got Gray Calabria in his almost like a hot dog, like Oscar Mayer color livery. Next to him, Kerry Nolan. He's got like an old school 90s, like sort of throwback, like cool kid Nickelodeon commercial style livery. Nick Drux with the classic Marlboro, the McLaren of the 90s livery. Kevin Cohen with just the jet black livery. Tyler Dunham has his white monster livery. A really nice livery by Jacob Green as well in his Bailey's livery. And we've also got Steve Hill and Dylan Bauman. Dylan also going with America Colors, and Steve is running his own proprietary Steve Hill dive bomb. Steve Hill does have a podcast. Make sure you check it out. It's all about do-it-yourself. It's all about do-it-yourself sim rigs. So make sure you Google Steve Hill dive bomb, and you will find the podcast. And we remember on the first couple corners of last race, we saw guys going 3 wide and able to keep it together. But I really wonder how the 6 of these guys, because Kevin Cohen's going to be up there too, how they are going to deal with the fact that they were so close during qualifying. I'm really, really curious just the toll it's going to take on them psychologically. They were all so close to getting that pole position, and they're going to want to get ahead and stay ahead of the pack. Look how close these guys are, and yet Carter won that last race by 6 seconds because he got a great start and drove away while everybody else fought. That's going to be the kind of start that Joe Beretta is looking for this time around. As we head around the final couple corners here. This is race 2 of the CTD Week 4 series of races. And we will be underway as soon as the pace car comes off the track, and Joe Beretta is going to be leading us to the green flag. Pace car is off, and this race is Joe Beretta's to start. And we've got a green flag, and whoa, did Kerry Nolan get a good start. This is not going to be the kind of drive-away start that Joe Beretta wanted, but he is going to be in the lead heading up to the first couple corners. These are hills. These do have a lot of space. Will anybody take a big swing here? So far, so good. Joe Beretta is leading the pack, followed by Carter Price. This next one is where we saw guys go 3 wide last time. Will it happen again? Oh, that's Nick Drux, who spins, and hopefully he doesn't get hit again by anybody else, but that might be Nick's race. Yeah, Nick did get hit by something, but I couldn't tell what happened there. He's not meatballed, so he's not out of the race, but that is disappointing for Nick. But his good friend Joe is going to lead this race, and it's going to be the 4 of these guys fighting. Yeah, I wonder what happened to Nick. I didn't personally see contact, so I don't know if he just maybe lost it on the cold tires. That's possible. But hopefully whoever clipped him is also not too hurt either. And we are going to go through this part of the track, and that is Gray Calabria taking the place from Carter Price, who is having none of it. Carter's going to go side by side with Gray Calabria through these S's. And Gray Calabria with the spot right now, but you never really know. There's going to be almost 3 wide coming into turn 16. But that's going to be Carter Price taking the place back, very assertively going over that curb. He wants to get back in the draft of Joe Beretta. Joe is already, a second 0.2 away. Carter's going to really want to get close to him here. And that is going to be Kerry Nolan taking that place from Gray Calabria. Talk about a good start. Dylan Bauman all the way up from 10th place has passed Kevin Cohen and is now in P5. Very nicely done by him. Meanwhile, our battle continues. We are, taking a look at Carter Price, who has gotten back in the draft of Joe Beretta. Greg Calabria chilling in P3, Kerry Nolan behind him. Dylan Bauman, a newcomer to CTD, but a very quick driver in his own right. I saw him race advanced MX-5s in Mazda, won 2 races yesterday and finished 3rd in another. No slouch in the Miata, maybe just needed a little time to warm up and get on the track. But from P10 to P5 in the first lap, that is some excellent driving by Dylan Bauman. So yeah, we're going to see what's going on. Dylan, we saw maybe going wide, a little bit wide there. And that's going to make him lose that place to Kevin Cohen. Kevin right there to take that place back from Dylan Bauman, and Dylan's going to hang out in his draft as this goes along. Let's take a look. Do we have, pretty much everybody's about a half tenth from each other, except for Joe Beretta and Carter Price, and Carter's going to make a run for P1 here. Carter's pace is excellent. He is just a very consistent driver, a very kind guy. But you wouldn't know it by watching him race sometimes. And he's going to go a little bit wide through turn 16 and then on to turn 18, so that's going to slow his roll a little bit, but he is making Joe Beretta look in his mirrors, and that's all you want at this stage of the race. Meanwhile, Dylan Bauman has passed Kevin Cohen back. Kevin's actually has fallen back quite a bit. We might have missed something happening between the two of them, maybe a Kevin Cohen mistake. Actually, what is happening? No, I'm sorry. I'm actually looking at Kevin Cohen fighting Dylan Bauman, so something didn't happen. We're looking at something different here. We're actually just looking at the fact that Kevin Cohen is quite a bit ahead of, or Kerry Nolan's quite a bit ahead of Kevin Cohen. Anyways, this race for the lead is going to be the one to watch here. Joe Beretta, we're gonna see how good Joe Beretta is under pressure. That is going to be the question, which is, can Carter Price slow down Joe Beretta, and will Joe Beretta be able to keep his composure under the pressure from Carter Price? And these guys fight. Greg Calabria, Kerry Nolan, maybe even Kevin Cohen and Dylan Bauman might just come up right to him. You never really know. Dylan Bauman is under attack from Jacob Green in the Bailey's car. So far, so good there, coming through, although he does seem to have a line on the inside, but we've got to go back to the P1 battle. And Joe Beretta sliding around turn 16 or turn 17, now right on to turn 18, and he is going to maintain that lead. Maybe a little bit of a passive entry into there, as Carter Price was able to get right up to his bumper, but here we are. Greg Calabria and Kerry Nolan have joined the pack. And this is what is happening in this race. We also have a battle between Jacob Green and Keith Gwinnett, Jim Campbell and Keith Gwinnett, and it is going to take a lot of work here for Jim Campbell to hold this place from Keith. Keith is very quick. But Jim Campbell, Keith is off! Oh, into the tire barriers. Keith losing it. He pushed a little too hard going through there and just went right into the barriers. I don't know if he's meatball, but that's got to hurt. Yeah, that's got to hurt. He is meatballed, actually. That will be the end of his race. And Jim Campbell also having issues as well. So, unfortunate for Keith. That will be his race over. And we are going to head back to this battle for the front. And Carter Price. Oh, a little bit of contact there with Greg Calabria, but Carter's going to keep the position. And this is going to be Joe Beretta's chance to pull away as Greg puts Carter under pressure. So theoretically, what you would want here is for Greg to work with Carter and say, let's go catch the leader. the two of us, and make sure that we stay in this fight for P1. But if he wants P2 really, really badly, what's going to happen is these guys are going to fight just like they did last time, and the leader is going to just roll off into the distance. So Carter Price is in the difficult situation. He needs to push to stay with Joe Beretta, but he has to defend from Greg Calabria. I mean, he could also let Greg go. You know, Greg is just as fast and would catch Joe Beretta, you know, without the draft. So, you know, it's when you've got cars of this speed, there can be some mind games of who you work with, who you let by. Maybe you want to be behind somebody going into a drafting corner. Who knows? But point being, we've got these four guys that are at, you know, fighting for the lead here. Behind them, this battle between Dylan Bauman and Jacob Green is still going on. Dylan Bauman looks like coming through here. He is able to maintain that position. Jeremy Tosti coming through Tyler Dunham. Behind him, Steve Hill. And it looks like Chris Gardner and Nick Drux. Nick is going to want some positions back here. I don't know how much Nick's car is damaged. You know, you can see he doesn't have a bumper, but I don't know how much that's actually affecting his pace here. And he is doing 149s. It's hard to tell whether that's because he's behind somebody, but he looks like he is going to go ahead and try to take this place from Chris Gardner. And let's see. Chris braking early. Nick's going to try to go around the outside here. Is he going to be able to generate enough speed? So that's the advantage of that line. And oh, that was very, very shaky from Chris coming through there. And we've got, once again, Greg Calabria all over Carter Price. Is he going to try to make this move, or are they going to work together? Looks like they are, at the very least, have a little bit of a truce for now. Joe Beretta is the target up there in the front. Looks like Jacob Green might have had a moment, because he is now behind Steve Hill, and he is now fighting for P9. So that is going to be Dylan Bauman, who's now a little bit all by himself. And then, yeah, we still have Chris Gardner, Nick Drux, and Jim Campbell. These guys have had rough races. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Nick in the front there, but it's not unbelievable to me that he might have got hit or lost it on himself. It's hard to tell. This is a tough track. So we are watching the top guys as we tick into the final 10 minutes of this race. We are on lap 6 of 12, and Joe Beretta in the America car has been holding the lead from Carter Price, Greg Calabria, and Kerry Nolan for this race. We have seen some changes in positions between these guys, but it has been Joe Beretta in the lead. All right, so the question is, it's not will action happen, it's when will it happen. Carter is going to want that P1 back. But, you know, Carter might also just enjoy chilling in the draft. The problem with that, though, is that puts him under pressure from the cars behind. So he might just want to be up front here and make Joe Beretta deal with it. Let's see, there is going to be a little bit of a run, but it doesn't look like, unless Carter wants to brake super late, which he does. And he is going to force Joe Beretta to go wide, even though he really didn't send it. And this is going to be Carter's first real move to try to take the lead of this race. Right now, Joe Beretta has his nose in. Keeping the lead right now, but now this is the battle. Now Joe Beretta does not have the stable lead. Carter Price is looking to make moves. He is bumper to bumper going over the first corner. And this has slowed them down dramatically. And now, once again, Greg Calabria, that's the risk of going for these moves for Carter. You know, if they don't work, that puts him immediately under pressure from the very quick Greg and Kerry. See, you know, it's sort of hard to make moves through here. We're also going to take a look here. We've got Kevin Cohen and Dylan Bauman. They're back fighting. Dylan going a little wide. And we've got Jeremy Tosti with a train, Tyler Dunham, Steve Hill, Jacob Green, Chris Gardner, and Nick Drux, and Jim Campbell. So that's our running order here. And we are on lap 7 of 12. So we are in the latter half of this race, and that is This is going to be 8 to 10 long minutes for both of these guys, and that's going to be Carter Price going around the inside, but that's great Calabria, who might be able to take the lead, but look at Carter. Carter able to maintain the speed, Joe going wide, and that is going to be great Calabria taking P2 and Carter Price taking P1, and Joe Beretta falls all the way back to third, but Joe's not going to want to take that down. He's not going to want to fall all the way back to fourth. He is going to want to get that position back, but Kerry Nolan is going to squeeze by him. Oh my goodness. Greg Calabria sending it 3 wide through just an incredible corner. And that is going to bring Carter Price up to the lead. And he's going to have an 8/10 gap to Greg Calabria. And he's going to have 2, fire-breathing dragons behind him and Kerry Nolan and what must be the frustrated Joe Beretta. Joe led this race for the first 11 minutes, or 13 minutes even, did a wonderful job up ahead, but Carter Price able to get to the inside there. Very nice move by that, and that's going to be a meatball for Kevin Cohen. Oh, Kevin, I don't know what happened. We were watching the action, but that is unfortunate for Kevin. He was battling Dylan Bauman there. As you can see, Joe Beretta, he's going to dive through, but then he's going to go wide, and that is going to really, really cost him. Both Greg and Kerry just sort of let him go. Hopefully that was just him missing his breaking point, but that's going to be Greg spinning. And that's going to be Kerry Nolan taking second place. And that is going to really, really spread things out here. Greg is back on the track. That was an unfortunate series of events, and that is going to make the rest of this race somewhat trivial for the front. Unless Kerry can find just exceptional pace. But it doesn't matter because we got 3 wide between Jacob Green, Tyler Dunham, and Jeremy Tosti, and that's going to be Jacob Green taking those positions back. So with our battle for P1, P2, P3, and P4 pretty much set. Well, battle for P4 is still going on because that's going to be Greg versus Dylan Bauman. We are going to watch this battle for P6 because it looks pretty interesting. And there is a train of 5 cars behind Jacob Green, and Jacob's going to have all to do here. We are also going to keep an eye on Dylan Bauman, who once again started 10th and then worked his way all the way up to 5th in the opening lap, taking advantage of some chaos to just go right through. But let's go ahead and see. We've got Jacob Tosti with the wheel to the inside of Jacob Green, but they're going to be pretty close going through the first corner. So far, driving down the line here on lap 9 of 12. Man, what an intense series of events. Last race, the pack racing it, lasted all the way to the finish for the most part. This time, we did have a little bit more contact. Maybe the drivers are a bit more tired or maybe a bit more frustrated. Maybe even spinning out on their own. As this is going to be Greg Calabria with a clean pass on Dylan Bauman to take his position back for 4th. Which it's not super surprising that happened. So yeah, lap 8 was the killer lap in this race. So you watch Joe Beretta, where Calabria was able to retake 4th, but he's not going to make up 7 seconds to Joe Beretta unless something happens. And Dylan Bauman is not going to let him go either. Dylan is a fast driver even if he isn't as strong at this track. Meanwhile, Jacob Green has a Jeremy Tosti, Nick Drux, Tyler Dunham, and Steve Hill behind him. And the 5 of them are going to head toward turn 8, and that's going to be Tyler Dunham wide, and he's going to lose at least 1 position, maybe 2. And he does lose 2. Going wide through turn 17 is going to take him all the way to the back of the train, but most importantly, he's still in the train. So he is staying alive here in this race. Lap 10 of 12 here. If we look at our overall positions here as we watch the battle for P6, Carter Price, excellent move through Joe Beretta to take P1 after putting pressure on him for 13 minutes. Joe fell all the way back to fourth in the ensuing exchange because Greg Calabria had, there's a lot of space to that, and Greg took the space he had to take a 3 wide. Joe ended up sort of being stuck either on the outside or in the middle there, I don't remember. But in the ensuing lap, with all of the chaos and probably some heightened blood pressure and emotions, we did see Joe Beretta go way off the track, and then Greg Calabria spin, coming down right, the corner that we just watched Jacob go through. So Greg Calabria has opened up about a second gap to Dylan Bauman, which is to be expected. Now we've still got this battle for 6. We've got Jacob Green, Jeremy Tosti, Nick Drux, but a little bit further behind now is Steve Hill, Tyler Dunham, and Nick Drux, I should say. Nick definitely slowed down by the damage to his car. He is doing what he can to make the best of it. Oof. We're going to take a look now. It looks like Nick Drux is going to try to make a move here on Steve Hill. Steve able to maintain the position with the damage that Nick has. These guys are going to keep on racing. Tyler Dunham just chilling behind him in the White Monster. I will say, Carter did have a 2-second lead, but Carey Price has actually closed the gap a little bit to Carter. So if it's possible, he could get in the draft, but that is actually, he could get in Carter's draft here and then maybe make it interesting on the final lap. Carey is flying. So we're gonna take stock of this because this just got a little bit more interesting. We are about to get the white flag when Carter Price comes through the finish line here, but if Carey can get in the draft and he can catch up to Carter Price, this might be a little bit of a race here at the end. Yeah, I'm curious what happened on that lap. They both had pretty good laps last lap, so I don't know if something happened on this lap to bring Carey so much closer to Carter. Carey's a good driver, but Carter is so fast that it's hard to imagine Carey being that much quicker than him. But we're going to see is Carter Price is going to cross the line. And this should be it. This should be white flag. And Carter Price is going to come around the corner. Oh, no, that's the checkered flag. Sorry. It didn't show. It still showed green on mine. But that is going to be Carter Price taking the win of that. Wow, I don't know what happened there. Sorry, guys. That's happened before where we thought that was going to be the checkered flag, and it wasn't. Or we thought it was going to be white flag, but it was actually checkered. Sorry about that. So, yeah, we're going to have to take a look and see how the battles turned out. It does look like Jacob Green had something happen because he went down from 6th to 11th. But, the race is over. Let's take a look at the final results here. Carter Price, double win today. Very, very nicely done by him. And Joe Beretta with a double win for the AM as he takes 3rd overall. Kerry Nolan finishing in front of him, but behind Carter for 2nd overall, followed by Greg Calabria. Dylan Bauman, a very nice run through the field, up to P5. Jeremy Tosti in P6. Steve Hill P7. A very injured Nick Drux in 8th place. Tyler Dunham in 9th. And Jim Campbell in 10th. Well, next week is going to be a doozy. It is Mount Panorama, the infamous Bathurst Mountain. Please come join us. It will be excellent. And yeah, I'm Alex